Okay, in this session number 5, we will start dealing about lighting management. This is special module, the LaMPS module, for specifically management of the lighting systems in a building. And this is a really important part of our solution. It's a small part compared to all the things we can do with the BMS. It's a small part, but it's really important. And in terms of numbers, in many projects we have this module included in the offers. It's an extra module, we can say. So about pricing and commercial conditions, you have to deal with my colleagues, but it's not a big part of the offers. It's a small amount of money, but it gives you a lot of functionality in terms of lighting management. And it's being improved also a lot, because we have now, and you will see in the final sessions, we have now some libraries, specific libraries for the visualization of this system. So it's really fantastic now. How can we easily manage a lot of gateways, a lot of DALI ballasts, a lot of lighting circuits with this LaMPS module. We have to explain how to implement the lighting systems in our BMS project. First of all is, of course, using ETS again. We are going to show you again ETS 6. It's also possible with ETS 5. I remind you, ETS 5 and 6. It was possible in the past with ETS 4. So with a previous version of the NETx BMS app, that was just NETx BMS app. Now the name of the app, as we saw yesterday, is NETx BMS App Secure. This is the name of the app, the current app. I'm opening the project, the ETS project we saw yesterday, just to remind you that we had DALI gateways for each room. So we will see how to manage all this information. What I have done before out of the camera was also including the DALI gateway that is present in my home. So I can see some live information. That's also interesting. But just for you to understand, I will close the app, that every single room had, as you saw here, DALI gateways. I just changed the name of the gateway as a DALI 1 and DALI 2. But these gateways are from different manufacturers. I can show you DALI 1 is from ABB. Okay, it's a DGS 1.1. It's an old DALI gateway, but it's also included in our solution. And the second DALI gateway is totally different configuration because it's from a different manufacturer. The second DALI gateway is, as you will see now, when the information refreshing ETS takes some time. ETS is being improved day by day. Let's say, I want to be polite. It's improving. And on the project, okay, we see that this is Schneider Electric, DALI control IP 173 whatever. Okay, this is a reference of this device. Okay, this is the reference, DALI gateway rec. So for DIN rail with this reference. Okay, so one for ABB, one for Schneider. But as you will see, every of these gateways will be included in the item 3 in the same way. That is very important because you can have different mixture of gateways, but it doesn't mind for our solution. What to do, or why is it interesting and very important to have the LaMPS module when we are using a lot of DALI in the project? Well, it will save a lot of time for the integrator. It will give a lot of added value. So these two things are very important, because it will save a lot of time, because DALI gateways, if you are considering KNX to DALI gateways, that is the current situation for the LaMPS module. We are now managing DALI KNX gateways integration. It's possible to supervise one by one the LaMPS and the ballasts, the drivers itself. But it takes a lot of time for the integrator to do this. what we can do, or what we do with the LaMPS module, is to just resume this polling to the lamps and the ballast, this checking of the status of the lamps and the ballast by gateway. So we do not need to open the parameters, activate all these objects for each ballast, for each group, because we can do it in a centralized way per gateway. To do this, we just have to follow instructions coming from our web manager. So let me open, okay, we have this window here, but I will go to the NETx automation web page again, and to show you again, sorry, it's in Spanish, I will put in English, of course, the knowledge base. In the menu, support menu, you will find the knowledge base. And in this knowledge base, you will find all the details related to this DALI gateways configuration. It's a specific part of the content here, okay, about an enhanced features, LaMPS module, it's here, and enhanced features. This LaMPS module, it's very well explained here. So we have two parts. Let's say in the LaMPS module, I will explain what we use 99% of the time, that is the DALI integration, okay? The other part is the circuit definition that I will also give you an example afterwards. But now about the LaMPS module, you get here how to configure all these existent DALI gateways per manufacturer. Maybe there are some gateways missing, but it's not a problem because we are just improving and increasing the number of gateways, the new reference of our gateways, and so on. So every single day. So if you have a project with a gateway that is not in this list, just tell us. Maybe we can get one of these devices from you, and we can do this integration in our LaMPS module. Not a problem, because we are doing monthly. Every single month we have a new gateway to integrate. So just for you to understand, if I have, for example, this module that I had in my project, ABB DGS 1.1, you can go directly to this explanation, and you can see, okay, if you want to do this centralized polling, let's say, centralized supervision of the gateway, of the elements that are inside the DALI bus connected to this KNX gateway, you just have to supervise, to configure the right parameters to get these objects. For example, in this gateway, we have different kind of objects for fault DALI, fault LaMPS device, select device, whatever. Okay, all these things. Some of them are mandatory, so you can see here if it's obligatory to configure to put a group address in these objects. This is per gateway, I repeat, okay, per gateway. So this is a reference for us to do the job in ETS. So if you see, I have done this job in my DALI 1 gateway that was this DGS 1.1 reference from ABB. I just configure in the parameters properly to get these objects, fault DALI, LaMPS device. Some of them are not obligatory, not mandatory, but I did it, okay? So these objects, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, and 16, okay? This is what I did, okay? Then I also, I think this is not correct, not necessary here. Okay, and this element have a second channel, channel B, that is broadcast, but it's also objects number 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 33, and 34. This is exactly what we can see here. This is objects number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, 16 for channel A, 22, whatever, 33 for channel B. So this is what we have to do for this device. If we have, for example, the Schneider electric device, for example, let me check, because it's not a Schneider, it's an iPass device. So let me check. This one, yes, iPass is the same device. It's an old version for this. Schneider, Kenix, DALI Gateway, this one. It's the same configuration for all these devices. So in this case, this example, mandatory are default general and the error status LAMP ballast, and the other are optional. So this is the reason why I get for the DALI 2 these objects, as you will see. This is also very important map because the emergency lights are possible to be polled. It's of course, any kind of battery. Also the battery status, if the battery is centralized or not, if the battery is on the ballast, all the recent devices that are managed by DALI. Moreover, if we are specifically talking about emergency lights, are possible to manage with LaMPS module. So this is very important because we can monitor these batteries, can monitor all this status. So it's very interesting. We are not going to show you this in this basic training, but it's possible to get all this information from the LaMPS module. So this is the reason why more and more we use LaMPS module in the projects. Very important. So in this case, okay, we have this Schneider electric device. So we have this object number 8 and 9 in this case, status, whatever, LaMPS failure. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are just optional. But it's configured, so I just had to take this in account when I did the ETS project and then export it. Remember, we had this BMS app secure, and then when we export it for the BMS platform, we had these specific LaMPS options to export the LaMPS with device functions. Okay, so I did it yesterday, so I am just showing you what I didn't point out yesterday, because yesterday we just focused on the normal ETS configuration. So all this information is now, well, in fact, it is from yesterday. It was included in the BMS. So I can close my ETS, that it's better for the performance, I guess, and go back to my BMS platform to show you that when we imported yesterday, we did what we did yesterday. When we imported, it was an option to import the LaMPS options. So LaMPS data were possible to import. And this is also because I had this module installed. I also mentioned yesterday, we need to include specific modules using the extension manager in the menu extensions. You may remember from yesterday. So what I did yesterday was updating one by one the 8 practical boards, including the LaMPS data. So you will see that we have all this information in our BMS. What I have done today is to include a file about my home. Okay, I will show you. I did it before. It was a file that I had from other examples, specifically from my home DALI gateway. So it was a specific file. Okay, just to mention that I included this, not the KNX data for this file, but I included also. So you will see that there is a part of the 2 gateways from each room. There is an extra gateway that is from my home. So you will see real data that is, we are connected to this data. Okay. So let me show you then where can we find all this information that we already imported yesterday. It is in the module folder, in the module menu, sorry. In the module menu, we have my LaMPS module. There's a lot of things here, but now we are focusing in the LaMPS. 2 parts, DALI, 99% of the things are related to DALI, and 1% it's possible to do an extra configuration about circuit definitions. I will show you an example afterwards. About module configuration, it's just internal thing about timeouts and some of the internal things that I never touch this, but it's also possible to configure some things. For example, emergency battery test timeouts, you know, we can do this. set all LaMPS items as a persistent item. What does it mean? Persistent means that the value will remain when you restart the server. You will not lose this value. You will save the value and put the value back when you restart the server. It's normally not necessary because we are polling every time, every small amount of time, again, the devices, but it's possible. Okay. Trigger tests on recovery, not by default, but you can change all these things. Okay. During UPS test, you can set brightness values to 100%, whatever. That's options that we never touch because by default, options are always our friends, as I mentioned also sometime before. So we go to LaMPS module, and if we go to DALI, you see all the different gateways that we can handle. ABB, EAE, Jira, Jung, Hagar, Electron, IPAS, MDT, Mertens, Schneider, Theven, PHG, Siemens Legrand, another Siemens older definitions, different Cineo, for example, the Spanish manufacturer, HDL, an emergency, and UPS definition. All these things are possible to configure, but independently, because the tables depends, the columns of the tables depends on the device. So if I go, for example, for a specific gateway that I didn't import it, for example, this ABB DGS, I don't have any of these devices here, it's empty. Okay, it's clear, nothing here. But if I go to modules, LaMPS, DALI, ABB/S.1.1 that I already imported for every single room, I get this data. It was automatically imported from ETS using the NETx BMS app secure from the ETS. And what we get here is this. Channel A and B for every single device. Here you see a path. NETx Online, room. I was telling you yesterday, it's interesting to change the room name every time we export a different room. This was the reason, because of the LaMPS structure, because if not, there will be all of these devices in the same. So, of course, we get this item. This is the name of the gateway, so we could distinguish because of this, but it makes sense to do it properly before, not to take in consideration the name of the gateway in order to change this. That's it. So what we can do is just to simplify this, for example, just to simplify the names. DALI 1A, the physical address is not interesting for me. It can take a bit of time, but it's interesting to do it in order to have clear data also in our installation. DALI 1, yes. DALI 1, A and B. So it takes a bit of time, but in Excel, of course, it will be faster because you just substitute texts, but it's only a few gateways. It's interesting maybe to do it now. Just to simplify the name. So we can also change this. Okay. A and B. Now, I will finish in a few seconds. I repeat, it's maybe faster in Excel, but another important thing, now you have to put your attention in the third column, devices, okay? While I'm finishing this, I can explain. By default, the system do not know how many real ballasts you have in your installation. We have to tell the system how many real ballasts we have. And it could be different numbers of ballasts. I mean, imagine that we have ballast from 1 to 3 only in one gateway, and in channel B we have from 1 to 64. So we have to put it here. Or imagine that in other case we have ballast from 1 to 3, but we also have ballast from 7 to 12. We just have to write these numbers as when I am printing pages. It's exactly the same. So you just put the number of the ballast here. Why is important to do this well? Because imagine that we just put this 1 to 3 in channel A and 1 to 10 in channel B. Imagine that we have only these 3 ballasts in channels A and 10 ballasts in channel B. Why it's important? Because every single ballast will take 1 data point in your license. So it's important to be accurate. Don't put 1 to 64 in order to say, okay, no problem. I put every possibility of the channel. I open the possibility to pull 64 ballasts. I don't mind if I have only 3, because you will be wasting a lot of data points from your license. So it's better not to do it this way. Okay. So just to do this is the only thing we have to take in account. Maybe also it's interesting to simplify this. NETx Online was the name of the project, ETS project. So maybe it's interesting to do this. This is one model, DALI 1. We have a Schneider Electric device, DALI 2. So maybe we have to just do this makeup, let's say, of this. So we will see much better the information in our item tree. So just finishing this configuration, I will open now the next option. The rest of the columns are automatically information, the data points that we had configured in ETS. So just coming from this ETS, okay? Rest columns by default, if time for the poll interval, if you want to trigger on connect, yes or no, it's false by default. If you detect faults, to trigger again, and so on and so on. This is totally automatic by the system. So I will save this information, not to reinitialize the server, just go to the next model. DALI, Schneider Electric. We have this. Okay, this is DALI 2. Let me just put this, will be faster than before. But as you can see in the third column, by default, it takes only from 1 to 10. So what we have to do always is to say, okay, in my real installation, I have 20 ballasts for the first one, or maybe 16 for the second, or whatever. You have to change this and put whatever real ballast you may have. Okay, I will just do this change. So let me simplify this also in order to have the same folders as before. So we will have per room DALI 1A, DALI 1B, and DALI 2 for every room. So let's do it this way. Okay. And the rest of the things by default, never change it because it comes from ETS. No problem. Save again. And this is my configuration for this second type of DALI gateways, virtual devices that are not real in my practical boards, but what we really have in this installation live, it's my ABB gateway. That is this option. This is my home. So I will say this is home, in folder home. Okay, DALI home, at home, for example. And now what I have to do is to put here 33 ballasts because it's the number of ballasts I have at home. This is important because if not, I will only check the first 10 ballasts, but I have 33. And this is the rest of the information that is coming from my ETS project. It was important also to configure this gateway in KNX, because if I don't configure this IP00 in KNX gateway definitions, it will not work. So I had to do it manually because I didn't import the KNX data points from my home. It's not interesting for the training, but I have to do it manually. So now, yes, I can save everything, and yes, I will restart, reinitialize. So you will see with this really easy way, just considering what we have to configure for every gateway, DALI gateway in NETx, we will get all the information related to DALI, even if you have thousands of ballasts in the BMS, in different ways. One, items in the item tree. The first way is we have a lot of items really well organized in our item tree, with also the logic, the necessary logics that can give you information if you have any failure at all in your projects, any failure per buildings, for example, or per floors or rooms, in this case, any failure per gateway, and then the specific failures that you may find. So see in the item all this structure of items. If you have any failure per part of the building, any failure per gateway, any failure per device, which kind of failures also, and so on. And this information will be structured exactly in the same way, independently of the manufacturer, of the reference of the gateway. So let me close this table configurations and show you the result in the item tree. What is happening here? We have my DALI information in the LaMPS. Okay, LaMPS, some informative things. Okay, message from Cloud Connector about the LaMPS module, if it's active, is this database synchronized, yes or not? Okay, it will take some time to do this. But for my DALI, I have all this information. This structure I have decided because I just simplify the information. So you can see per room, I have 3 gateways, DALI 1A, DALI 1B, DALI. Depending on the number of ballasts I defined before, I get the number of devices per gateway. For example, in this DALI 1A, it was only 3. So you see every single information from every ballast will be shown here. Of course, this is not present because it's not real, but you see the result of our configuration. In DALI 1B, for example, what do we get? Number 1, 2, 3, and number 4 to 10. It was the real range of ballast I wrote for this gateway, for example. In terms of Schneider Electric device, I think it was from 1 to 20. Yes, the first one. So you can see the result of my configuration here. Okay. But the best thing is that I have information in general. All the devices, is there any fault? Yes or no? Test faulty devices just to trigger the test faulty devices with one true or one value 1. Just, okay, I want to trigger only that faulty devices. You can trigger a test general for the whole installation. How many faulty devices you may have. In a real installation, you will get real data. Okay? And for every single room, you also have the same. Is the connection? Yes. If you have any fault, there's no information because we cannot trigger the devices. So there is no possibility to have here this. Okay. And not only per room, per gateway. You have the channel A for DALI 1, exactly the same information. Is there any fault? Is it DALI fault? Is it device fault? Is a lamp fault? Is a ballast fault? So look, we have this item and the structure is per room and whatever gateway and fault ballast. If I select a different manufacturer, is exactly the same idea. The only change here is the name of the room and maybe the name of the DALI gateway. But the idea is to have exactly the same information. So with the name of the gateway, you can just changing this, that can be considered a variable, okay, for the visualization, we will see. And also considering the floor and the room number that we know that are variables, we can do the management very easy because the system is making this more homogeneous. No? It has it is organizing the information in the same way. It doesn't mind the manufacturer of the gateway. My home is here, so DALI home. Maybe I have to save this gateway. Well, I will do afterwards because I would like to have this connection live. But I get information from all my 33 ballast, as you can see. That is was. I can trigger a test, but maybe it's not configured the ETS part, so I need some. I need to integrate the KNX data because it was important for the table. No, it was my fault. When I integrated my home, I did not integrate the DALI information. I can do it now. It's just to go here, KNX import the file properly and show you that it should work very easy. So importing also KNX, updating definition and trying to find this file, it will take some seconds only. Because I tried to do it simpler, but when you do it wrong, you have to do it twice. No, it's my grandma's sentence. So it's easy to find here in my Dropbox. Yes. That's it. Update definitions and it will work. Now it will work. To start the server, but if I show you gateway definitions, not Telegram. Gateway definitions. I have my here, update it. Yes, now, and no change because I did it manually exactly the same way, but it was updated. And now my LaMPS module, DALI, and this specific device that I have a second definition, yes, because it was changed, but it's exactly the same configuration, so I can delete this, in fact. But what I will do is just to convert to comment this, and that I will just change this. So now I save and I can restart, and it will work. I will be in connection because these data points were not included in my first importing, and it was important. Of course, I didn't realize that I always need this. Okay, so, but what I don't want to have is the rest of the KNX information, but I think it was not present in this. In Telegram definitions, maybe we can find. By gateway. Yeah, IP00. It's just only a few things about DALI. So it's not the rest of the things included in my house. There is emergency lights test status. Okay, it was not defined, so we will get some issues if I restart without this definition, just to do it on the fly, and we can start again the server and see the result and see how we can take a look on my home's server. Let me check. I have to stop and restart again the server. We can do it manually also from this platform service control and take some seconds, but it will work. So you will see this first approach is that we get a lot of information structured. We have in a structured way all this information in LaMPS. So if you want, one of the items is just if you have any problem with DALI in the installation. So with just monitoring this item, you will get, for example, an alarm, or you will get a message. We will see how to send an email or a Telegram pop-up message. Very easy, but it's possible to get this information, including the emergency devices and so on. The second approach is that we can get reports automatically also. There are some examples of reports related to DALI, and gateway by gateway in general, and so on. So it's the second approach. DALI can be supervised, automatically getting reports from the system without any effort from the integrator. That was the first main reason to use DALI, to use the LaMPS model. It's easy for the integrator, it saves a lot of time, but also it's good for the end customer that can get a lot of information in runtime. So I will show you this example of reporting, okay? And the third approach, why it's interesting, the LaMPS module, is because we have in the visualization a lot of tools to represent all this information very easy. Just considering the name of the gateway, just considering that. Okay. So LaMPS module, DALI, my home. Now it's connected. Okay, fantastic. Because it was missed that KNX gateways. And I have my trigger, my devices. If I trigger a test now live, you should see every single element going to be tested one by one. So it will take some time to go for every single element, but it's triggering a test for every single device, and you will get one by one how this is approaching and getting no fault in the lamp, in the ballast, or whatever. It can happen that some of the ballast give a fault. So we will see. When it arrives to the device number 33, it's going one by one, but it's doing automatically. So up to now, the test finished. Is not any fault, of course, no fault in DALI or devices or lamps or ballast. So it's fantastic. My home DALI elements are perfect, and you can see it here. Okay. Also, you can see we have emergencies, and we can also start or whatever, because I have one emergency at home also on DALI, so we can also trigger a testing of this element, but has to be detected by ETS, by the system, which is the element that has a battery. So you can see a lot of information from ballasts, a lot of information per gateway, per device, and also per building structure. So if you have in the room 3 gateways, you will get information for the whole room. And if you have several rooms, you get information from the project. And you can even have different projects, and you will get a super folder, including in the resume, the logic, the OR logic for all this. Okay. Now its database is synchronized. It took some time as promised, but it's here. So let's go to the Web Manager again. Let's open Web Manager and show you a report for this. Okay. Go to normal HTTP and logging. Remind you the password is by default change me, remember, okay? This is the password by default for the super admin profile. Okay, and then we have reporting here. So let's talk about a bit about reporting. Let me create a folder, number 4, reports. Okay, because we can also use several reports, but okay, we can define here a report instance. This is interesting because the instance, when it's implemented, an instance is not just a report on the fly that I want to know. An instance is a report that you can also call. I can call this instance from, for example, a calendar. So every single day I can send a report to a specific person. We will see this tomorrow, but first we need to create this report instance. So it's DALI home daily report, for example, is my name. Which kind of report? We have a lot of reports created by NETx Automation. So for example, LaMPS for device status UPS, emergency lighting status with multi-gateways, UPS tests, gateway latest, logbook for all the LaMPS, a lot. But I will just find LaMPS gateway. Okay. Range today, for example, or maybe yesterday. If you want to send that the first time for the first time in the day, information about yesterday, okay, you select yesterday, but today is okay. Which gateway? Okay, select the gateways. You find all your gateways here. Okay, if you delete some of them, you will find here they was deleted, but I have to find my home one. Where is my home? My home, aquí, here. Okay. File type, fantastic. It could be a PDF, it could be an Excel, CSV, a Word, an image, HTML. Okay, let's say PDF. I will save this home daily report, and I will show you. You can generate the report. It will be a PDF in this case, and you will see daily reports. You can also select latest. Latest is the latest trigger, the latest test, and not the whole information from today, but that can be a lot of pages. You can see here this is the file here. So 2 pages in this case. So because I've just created this. So I have every single device. It's everything okay. The test was succeed, the ballast, the lamp, the converter, and so that's what you can get. It was created today, so you can see what was the latest test. If you have a lot of tests, you will get a lot of information from here. So maybe hundreds of pages. If you select yearly or whatever, you can see the history of what happened in your DALI installation. It was created by NETx Automation, and you can create your own report with your own logo, for example. You can change the logo very easy. If you want to see how to change the logo, it's able to create your own reports, but this is not easy to do. Okay, I would say it's not trivial thing. It's really a sophisticated tool that is embedded in the web manager, the report manager, the reporting tool. But to create just on the fly report is very easy, because as you can see, there is a lot of default types of reports about alarms, for example. Alarms active for a period, currently active. So you can send these reports, not just create it, but also trigger events with this report. Save it to a specific folder, send it to a specific person by email, whatever, okay? So it's important to understand this. Next part of reporting is just to see to execute a report on the fly. So, okay. Gateway latest, select the gateway, and just generate the report. It's not an instance. If you just a report, you will just get the data and nothing more. It was same data, of course, the same information and different time. But if you want to execute a specific report, about alarms, for example, alarms. Okay, why not? Which kind of alarm? Which alarm you want to? So you said which is the alarm you want to monitor? The temperature, the test, the room temperature alarm, for example. Okay. So this one, generate me a report about this alarm. I have not an instance, a report instance. I cannot use this report for sending to a or whatever person, but I have just 2 pages with whatever happened with my alarm. So this is very interesting because you can create an report instance or just, okay, let me check in the fly, or alarms multi. So you just select the path of the alarm. So if it's alarm multi, I just select this folder for the whole alarms related to lights. So I generate the report and there will be many more pages. Yes, 31 pages in this case. Okay, so you get a lot of, for every single light in every single room. So it's fantastic. Very easy way to get all this information. But the best thing is that you can create an instance for the report and send to somebody. That is the best thing. Oh, well, focusing again in the LaMPS module. Okay, we get this. We get this report instance, so you can also do this or generate this report from, or trigger this report saving or sending as an event, as an action, as a consequence of whatever event, or for example with a time event. Every day we send a report for whatever person, but we have to create the report instance. If you want to change the logo, we have the third part of this reporting app in the web manager, that is the reporting editor or designer. But this is really complicated. I understand that all of you would like to create whatever kind of reports, but it's not simple. Okay, but we can do it. We can just open whatever report. Let me say, okay, LaMPS gateway, latest or LaMPS gateway that we are using. But instead of default, I will save. This is the design of this with, okay, it's including a lot of fields from the database, so it's not easy to handle, but it's possible, for example, very easy to change this logo, because I can change the logo here. So let me change to another image. For example, a neutral logo, okay? Neutral logo, no publicity, no advertising. So whatever logo, and then I change, save as, and I can change my own. Instead of default is my own LaMPS gateway report. Just changing the logo is very simple. Okay. Well, there are company name, maybe that should be also changed because it will appear NETx automation and so on. So, but now I can use this logo. I can go back to my reporting app. I will make a copy of this instance. It's very simple. It's just to make a copy, copy and paste. Okay, and I will just change this default for my own LaMPS gateway. So I can just trigger, generate the report, and you will see the report with the logo changed. So it's just an example of what we can do. But of course, if you want to create a specific we have it here. There it is. Okay, it was a fault. Device number 2 was faulty at 11:52. Okay, it was some issue. Maybe it was because it didn't answer properly. It's not just a fault of the device because all the lights are working fine at home, but you get this. Okay, it was faulty this time, this device. So if you see latest and it's always faulty, you should take a look. Okay, device 2 was faulty. Maybe you should take a look back. But the historic, the report with all the information may contain some faults that are not real now. So we have to take a look on that. Okay, but what I wanted to show you was the logo. If you want to change other things, maybe you have to take a look on the manual of this tool. I think it's an external tool. Actually, maybe you can correct me or give us information about where to find the tutorial for this tool for the edition of the reports. Okay. So let's go back to the BMS again to continue with the LaMPS. Okay, so we have all this information here, very nice, to check if all these issues may arise. Okay, so this is very interesting, but also reports that we can create, but also visualization on the fly that we can see if we have any kind of problems. We will see this as an example in the next sessions at the end of the training, in fact, because the visualization is explained in the last day. But now we have to explain a bit more about metering, about LaMPS, and then also about metering, because there is another very interesting tool. So in LaMPS, we had another extra feature that is the circuit definition. This is very interesting in my opinion also, because, for example, we can have estimation for the energy consumptions thanks to this tool. So I will show you with an example. Imagine that I want to monitor a specific light of my practical board. No, I have different lights. Some of them are, well, in fact, all of them are on because I just sent a broadcast. Let me turn them off again because I am wasting energy. Let me turn all the lights off again. Okay, now all of them are off. Even my home. But we want to monitor one specific light. Okay, so I will say it's a bedroom light. Let's say at room 0101, because maybe we can do it for all these lights for all the rooms. Very easy, but we have to define, if we want, items to control the light from this module. It's possible. So on off, we can do it on off if we want from here. So let's go to the alias. Bedroom, bed, on off bed. This is the item. Okay, on off bed. We can also see the status of the light if necessary. So because we are monitoring all this circuit, on off status bed. Okay. I think I selected. No. Okay. Yes. And then we will have different things, different results with this circuit definition as a second application for the LaMPS module. We can define times for warning or for alarms. So it's the first thing we had is, okay, we can monitor the time that this circuit is active in seconds. Normally it should be some millions of seconds because every single day, one day has more than 80,000 seconds. As an example, I will put just 100 seconds and 200 seconds for alarm. You can change this dynamically also, but we can define these starting values. And if the value is on more than 100 seconds, there will be a Boolean that will become true. This is a warning. So you can get an item that tells you, okay, it's a warning. This circuit has been more than a specific time active for maintenance reasons, for example. So you can monitor how many hours we can consider adequate for the life of a specific lamp, whatever. So, okay, establish a warning 80% of this time and alarm 95% of this time. And you put these values here. It's okay. Also, we can control the brightness directly. Brightness item ID is also possible. Value. This is the value. And also monitor the status of this. So we can get also status value percentage, status percentage. Nice. Is there any scale factor necessary? No, because you may remember I correct the percentage data point in the KNX definitions from yesterday. I just was wondering if percentage items has the scaling data point. This is very important because it is automatically considered scaling percentage by the BMS. So it is not necessary to apply any scale factor. If not, you maybe apply scale factor to correct the raw data from 0 to 255, apply scale factor to be considered a percentage, but it's not necessary. Well, and now we start about energy data. Current, voltage, power, and energy. 4 things. Current item ID means current in amperes or milliamperes if you have it. Do we have measurement of the current that is being used by this circuit? Of course not. Of course not. But we may have one item with this value as a simulation, for example, or you may have a specific value for this. In this example, I will simulate everything. So I will just select an item where I will put a value. If you remember, we have some items in the bar branch. So I will select numeric number 1 for the current. And in this value, I will put whatever milliamperes we may have. Okay, no scale factor. It could be also, if it's a real value, we can monitor lower warning, lower alarm thresholds. Imagine, warning, the value normally is 500 milliamperes. Okay, if it's below 450, we get a Boolean. If it's below 400, we get an alarm. A Boolean with a warning, a Boolean with an alarm. If it's higher than 600, we get an alarm for higher. And higher than 550, we get an alarm. So all these things can be monitored also about the current in milliamperes. If you can measure, it's fantastic. If you just are simulating the value, it makes nonsense to put all this, of course, but it's possible. About the voltage, okay, we can get the voltage. I'm not sure if we get voltage from Modbus. It's not included. Maybe my home. No, in this project we don't get this. Maybe back from BACnet. Maybe we got voltage. Yes, we have the voltage from my home, but it's multiplied by 10. Okay, I take the voltage and I apply a scale factor 0.1. And this voltage can be monitored. Okay, if the voltage is lower than 225 or maybe 230, it's a warning. Alarm if it's lower than 225, higher 235 volts is a warning, and more than 240, it gives me a Boolean that will become true. So I can trigger an alarm if necessary. I have to configure this. And what about the power? I will estimate the power. So I will select this option. Power will be the multiplication of the current times the voltage. So I select yes. do the calculation. Power approximate, true. I don't need to establish a power integrity because it will be calculated multiplying voltage times the current. Of course, there will be no watts, will be multi-amperes, VA, no W, okay? Because the power factor is not considered here, okay? This is not the power factor, okay? This is a scale factor for the power if you are using that. And the energy can be also estimated. If the power is calculated, the energy is also calculated because this is the integral per second, no? The integral addition per second of the power. So calculate, please calculate approximately what is the energy that we are consuming. That's very nice. We can consider persistent this data because it's a simulation, and that's it. The redundant, it means for the main backup, it's just going to be synchronized. And this is a circuit definition. So what are we going to see after restarting? We are going to see a lot of information from this single circuit. From a license point of view, from the licensing point of view, it takes one data point, this definition. You will get a lot of information from this circuit. So the LaMPS module is also wasting data points for this kind of definitions and for the every single driver, every single ballast for the DALI part of this module. Okay. So restarting the BMS, and I will go to item 3, and we will find all this information in our module branch, inside the LaMPS again. So some seconds of suspense. It's really interesting if you need to establish energy consumption for any kind of circuit. We can get it. I have got my lamps. I have my room with my bedroom light with all this information. Of course, we need to give a value to this numeric number 1 as the current. Now, let's say it's 0.5 amperes. Oh, it's a numeric, so it's 0. Let me put it in milliamperes, sorry. Milliamperes, okay, 500 milliamperes. It was my fault not to put a real instead of numeric. Okay, so we have a lot of information. Look, well, of course, should be on the light, should be on. It's a simulation, so if I put a current value, the energy is being calculated time by time. So this is watts per hour. Well, not watt, milliwatts per hour, because it's milliamperes. So this is watts, not the power is in watts, 500 times 200 and whatever. But this is the energy. So you can see if the light is on, it's considering the status. The light is on in the camera. You cannot see, but it's on. If it's off, the time stops. Okay, so only counts when the light is on. I can, of course, send a brightness value, 35, for example. So it will be this, the on-off status will be on, and it will count again. Now, if the value goes higher than 100, I can change this value, for example, to 60. Dynamically, I can change this reference. So it will become true now, true, because this is the warning. Imagine that the alarm is when the value is 75, for example. So this value will become true. Now we are above 75, that is the reference. So this is an alarm, and we can do whatever. So this is really interesting because we have a lot of information about the car. If you are, well, the value is this, but we are not out of any of these ranges. So the threshold is this. Maybe we can change this to another value if dynamically. Yes, we can change this value. So, for example, imagine that the higher the alarm for or the warning for the or the lower warning for the lower alarm is 510, for example. So we are in 500, it will become true. Now, it's automatically changed. It's possible to change. Okay. And this is the power, and this is the energy calculated every second. So it's fantastic also because we can use this if we need. If we can use this for our energy management or whatever. It's an estimation, of course, but it's possible to be considered in the right way as energy measurement, approximate. Okay, that's a circuit definition. It was not complicated, but we need a lot of information to give. But it's possible to do this for DALI. Now, I'm going to do is to stop this. I will convert to comment this definition because I don't want to save to waste resources for this. Okay, and finally we have a few minutes. I will start showing you something about the metering module. Okay, we will continue in the next session about the metering module. It's very interesting also to have this, but I think it's better to show it working. And I have my home with a lot of metering. I think here is, what is my home? Here is my home. This is the BMS from my home. You know, we can get alarms or trends, have some trendings. Maybe I can show you some trending from my home. Some special trendings like, it's in Spanish, sorry, but geo. The altitude of the sun to compare some altitude comparison. For example, this is one graphic I created with the position of the sun compared with a week before, for example. So maybe you can see comparison 22nd May, seven days ago or 30 days ago. So you can see the difference, for example. This is just an example. But about metering, that was the thing I wanted to show. We have in my house a lot of elements that we can measure. So, yes, there's a lot of information inside this graphic. So, the computer is very small and takes time for it. So, about the metering, it's very important to have trendings before defined. We need some trends about the different energy consumptions. But the problem when you have just the value of a meter is that you only get this. You only get a value, that could be a line, that is growing and growing and growing. So this value is 14,206.6, 6.9, 2.07, 292.3, whatever. So it's not representing how much I consume every day or every week or every month. So this is important to do, the trending. I have to configure the trending. For example, the electrical vehicle charging station as a line. I'm not sure if it's well configured, but this is taking information. No, virtual. No, virtual, no. This one is the right one. haven't charged it today, so I need to show you the month, for example. So you get this, and okay, you can see with the dependent. Okay, you can see if you charge more or less, but what I need to know is how much I charge every day. I spend in energy in total for the electrical vehicle, for the aerotherm, for the kitchen, for whatever. So, but we need data. So the first approach for the trending, the metering module is that we need to establish the trends and then use it and define the metering points. So first is to define trendings, and then we go to metering. So I will show you. Metering, we need to configure, okay, configure, metering. And when you configure, different meter points is this, okay? This is aerotherm. What is the trending? It's important to do it before. This is the trending. Resource, okay, define different kind of resources because the resources will have a specific tariff, price, and whatever. So it's also important, the resource, okay? And then what you get is information from the meter reading, or you can also see the consumption. Let me show you the month, for example. If you see the consumption, it's calculated by the module how many kilowatts per hour you spend this day or this day or this day. It could be monthly, it could be weekly. It could be today. Okay, for example. Or it could be yearly. If you select year, it will be month by month, for example. See, aerotherm, the HVAC, of course, going to spring, so it's less and less. If it's last year, for example, we can get data from last year. So you can see it's classic HVAC consumption in north of Spain, because in summer we don't use air conditioning. We only use for heating. So you can see that we live in a fresh zone of Spain, not a hot one. Okay, almost nothing because just for hot water, but almost nothing. But this electrical vehicle will be different. So we see this is a meter point. If you have the meter reading, it's not interesting to see this, but you can see the consumption, or you can see the cost in money. So this is more regular. For electrical vehicle, it's normally more regular. This is this year, no, 2023, 2024. Well, I'm charging less and less month the car. But it's interesting because we have this. If it's about the cost, this will be related with this euros that you spend charging the car. For example, the definition of line or bar, I think it's better bar in this case. But what is the cost in euros, for example? No? That's easy to see. And this is what you get in the metering module. But the best thing is that you can also get a representation of the metering. You can define cost center and include in this cost center. So you have different calculation charts, including, for example, home electricity with yesterday, or another calculation chart like this, including what is the kitchen, aerotherm, home, and electrical vehicle, for example, every day, or maybe in the month. So you can get this, or you can print it, or you can get it in a table with the different consumptions or whatever. So it's also interesting because it gets the information and it's graphically shown you. So kitchen is not interesting. The total, so I will just changing, or maybe the HVAC compared to the total consumption. So you can do this comparison for every single month, for example, April, for example, March, for example, February. And what about not aerotherm, but just the electrical vehicle compared to the overall consumption of the home? So dynamically, you can select what you may need. Just include these points in your graphic. So add new series, and you get a new one, including, for example, the external consumptions of your house, for example, or whatever. I don't know why this value is so big. Well, we'll take a look. So this is just the first approach, how you get a cost center plan with the different things you can get and edit, so you can get a report also from the metering. But the most interesting thing is you get again a lot of information in your item tree. So metering, you will get a lot of information for all these meter points. For example, electrical vehicle. Okay, the current meter reading is this. That is not really interesting for me because I have been charging the car for the last 3 years. Okay, I want to know what is the consumption, the current consumption, this hour, today, this week, this month, this year, and compare to last, for example, yesterday, 4.2, today nothing. Last week, 32, this week, 26. Last month, 200, this month, 170. Last year, I spent 2,836 kilowatts per hour for charging my car. So this is information very interesting for me. Also, you can know the peaks, what is the highest, maximum, minimum value today, the maximum and the minimum daily. The maximum day this week, I spent almost 12 kilowatts per hour. But this month, it was a day that I charged 3 times the car. During the year, even 4 times or 3 times the car full. So daily and monthly consumption, maximum, minimum. That's fantastic information. It's calculated by the module. And you can also establish limits. For example, limit consumption for the current week. Let's say if you have more than 45 kilowatts per hour, you will get a true here. Now, next time it will calculate it, you will get it. So you can also write limits for month, 300, for example. So as you can see, it is calculating in a few seconds. It's telling you, no, you are not above this limit. But you can trigger alarms with these values. So all these things are possible. So this is metering module. Okay, so you have seen how to include once you have the trendings created, you can define metering points. Then you are asked to define let me show you. Resources, okay. You have to define resources, okay. Cost rates and even cost centers, because maybe you have to share costs between different cost centers. The different resources has different cost rates also, and so on. So you can get information by energy consumption, by cost centers, and also you can create reports related to this, because you can instance related to energy consumption. So let me show you. I can create, for example, for metering, meter point consumption table, for example, and what is the meter point? So I can just create a meter point for my aerotherm, for example. So I just generate a report about month of the aerotherm. So you will get this information in a report. So if you create an instance, again, you can get this report sent to whatever person. and this is very interesting also. So it's better to show you working, maybe instead of trying to create everything by the scratch and get nothing for data. So let me open the report, sorry. And this is the report. Every single hour, every single day of the month, you get the information what has been the consumption every single day of the month. Of course, you can get this in Excel also. Maybe it's more interesting in Excel. You can get a multi report with multiple trends and so on. So, okay, just take a look and you will. Okay. A lot of information. Okay, so up to now, I have finished this second session of today. I will keep the session open for a few minutes. If you want to check or ask any question, don't hesitate to do it now or maybe later in the last session of the day. But as you can see, we have very interesting tools for managing the lights or even for managing the different meter consumptions. These two servers has a specific extra price for the licensing, but in many projects are very interesting for many projects. So thanks so much again for your attention, and let's see in 35 minutes in this case. Bye bye.